Hello, folks. Hello. It's the 26th of March? Yes, March. 2019. Hard to believe we're so far into the century. I wonder if this is how people in 1919 felt. All the promise. Of course, World War II. Oh yeah, World War I they already went through, so it wasn't like it had been a bright and peaceful century. Maybe the early years of each new century are just destined to be full of nasty, nasty stuff. Like 9/11 and those various Middle Eastern wars, for example. Hopefully we're not on the verge of another world war. Let's see, Zilka. Zilka did have plenty of swords back in his pirate days, but for one reason or another, he lost them. Sometimes he just misplaced them, or left them buried in a wall, or some unfortunate fellow after a raid. In the midst of a raid. Yep, cars coming again. Yeah, who are these fellas coming down my street bothering me? I can see why rich people live in gated communities where there's no traffic ever. Let's see. Why they live in gated communities? I don't know. Probably because there are crazy stalkers who would want to kill them. We live in a day when perfectly normal, unfamous people get death threats all the time, so I can imagine what it's like to be even moderately famous. Of course, it's not like this stuff was unheard of. I mean, they've probably been getting death threats since the days of Bogart, so. Let's see. Let's see. The midst of a raid. Make sure you say midst instead of missed by accident. Roka sold a few of his swords for a little coin, because he liked to have some money in his pocket for emergencies and for a little drink on the times that came to the mainland without getting in some bloody fight. Let's see, did these guys massacre anybody? No. By pirate standards, they're gentlemen. These guys were gentlemanly. Let's see. Local hell was eventually down to one sword with a fine pearl handle, and they'll end one of those fancy handguards that protected the fingers from getting lopped off. It's another of those things I don't know what you name them, you know. What's that thing you call the handguard around a sword? The handguard. Oh, that's what it's called. I like that sometimes in English names have simple names. Let's see, door, for example, the mainland. Handle. No reason those names should be more complicated in another language. So a bloody dead sword. A final time in the battle. In the twilight of the Warlord War. Then they were at sea when the capital Dalada submitted to the Jade Emperor, its leaders and holy men, proclaiming him the true Messiah of the Jade people and the long-awaited true Emperor to unite all tribes, including those on the sea. In short, pirates. Jade Emperor granted amnesty to the pirates, and Zoka and his comrades came to shore in peace. The Jade Emperor had made it clear that the days of chaos, bandits, and pirates were over. From now on, if any Jade people wanted to pillage, it would be against enemy powers. Zoka decided to show how serious he was. To show to his comrades how serious he was about abandoning the pirate life by taking his sword and breaking it. He regretted it almost instantly. Like many other things he did in the heat of the moment without considering the consequences. He didn't take up the sword again, instead leaving it in the sand, then to be claimed by some little crab, or maybe just washed out to sea. He doubted the sword was still where he planted it over 10 years ago. Was it over 10 years? 10 years later. I think I had this Warlord War ended 33. Pre-war stuff, war stuff is easier because it only has spanned 3 years, 1946 to 49. But the stuff that happened before the war, that could be a little more troublesome. I probably got a lot of dates and ages wrong in this story. Hopefully some editor will catch the errors for me. I hate when you have like a character who should be in their 40s and you accidentally wrote them in their 30s, because, that requires a bit of tampering, re-editing and all that. Let's see. The sword was replaced. Zoka never bothered to replace the sword. He was owed. When he became an officer, he was supposed to get one from the National Armory. After the amnesty, about a million swords, about 5 million swords were collected by the new government. Most of them were melted down to use in guns. Other things, metal, to make guns and other things of metal. Let's just get one from the National Armory. He never requested it, finding it a dirty thing to take someone else's sword, even though they abandoned it. Zoka wanted to pick his own sword. He never got around to it, being stationed in place far from home. And he certainly didn't want some chromish or fortish or Grandish sword. Chromish or fortish or grandish. Probably don't need to say. The Irish aren't famous for their swords, I think. I think when people think of swords, they think Scotsmen or the British with their big broadswords, bastard swords, claymores, which is also the name of a famous explosive device the U.S. Army made. It's like a mine. You stick it down and point it where you want the enemy to be, and then when they get to range, it blows them up. I'm not sure how it works. It seems it does seem kind of high-tech when I think of it. Even though it was from the 1960s. I think I might have it in one of these stories. I mean, in this universe, technology has accelerated a bit, so... I mean, if they have giant walking tank men, and tank men that are human-sized, then why not have a special kind of mine that you point towards the enemy, it senses them, it blows them up. Let's see. Loga had a machete. A big blade designed for hacking through the brush. It was seeing a lot of mileage in the so-called New World, particularly in South Zeta. Place that had more jungle than people, and those jungles were home to all sorts of horrific creatures, things you don't want to. Stuck fighting with just a machete. Should I mention some of those horrors? Probably not. They say you should only mention things if they're going to show up in the story. And I don't think plant people or plant-like animals are going to show up in this story. Kind of picture the creatures from that escaped from, what was it called? The Lady in the Water, that one Shyamalan movie. Something like that. Oh, and people versions of that. Plant people are some of the more interesting ideas in fiction, in my view. You could have those be like elves, or have them like wild tribesmen, or like a variety of other things. Maybe they could be just like, just like us, except different, That's kind of a funny thing too, like having supernatural creatures like us, but different, like vampires, I guess. Like a vampire could act like a creature, or it could just act like us, except they drink blood. Yeah, it really varies. It's one thing I don't like about vampire movies. There's like no consistency, and it's the same with werewolf movies. Yeah, there's just not enough of a common thing. Everybody got their own idea of what a werewolf or a vampire is, so they're all radically different from movie to movie. Doesn't matter when it's aliens, because aliens are, aliens. You only run the problem if you say, like, each of these species is from Mars. They can't all be from Mars. Mars is a tiny planet. They, wouldn't have a gajillion different races of sentient creature living on it. It'd be like if on Earth we had all these different sentient beings. Types of sentient beings, which I like that, but, scientists would probably say that's implausible. Look, I had his machete ready. Okay, let's get back to the fighting. At the perimeter of the mansion. Not the mansion, of the building. The two-floor building. Two-floor building, that's very descriptive. I wonder what it's like to write when you have a split personality. It almost feels like a split personality because I'm always stepping into the shoes of a new character. You know. To me, the more you like a character, the more you're like stepping in, you know. So it gets more vibrant and more violent. Perimeter of the 2-floor building. Zoka readied his a flashbang. A new sort of grenade. A grenade that dazzled, but off a blinding flash instead of a terrible explosion. Zoka would have preferred it if a grenade did both. He supposed he could have tossed 2 types in at the same time. What if the fragile, thinner flashbang just got consumed by the frag grenade, like some little prey getting swallowed up by big prey, like some little predator being swallowed up by a bigger predator. I just gotta check something, folks. Just bear with me. Be right back. Back, folks. Just checking on a message someone sent me. Ugh, what's this feeling under my skin? Ugh, I don't like that. Let's see, getting swallowed up by a bigger predator. Dazzled the group of enemies past that window in the room. Bang was tossed into the first closest busted window. And Zoka, right after the flash, Zoka stormed in, men close behind him, most wielding SMGs or assault rifles. Zoka didn't give them a chance to use them in that first room. He was slashing vigorously with the machete, getting one. He killed the first man, his path, slashing him across the throat. The machete, he cut so deep through the flesh that the man looked nearly beheaded. Tumbled to his knees, putting out some hideous gurgling noise. Zoka had heard that noise, and he had killed men like this before. It was not his first slashed throat, but it was one of his most dramatic. Out of my way. Zoka coughed, roared, pushing the dying man aside. He gave up the ghost as soon as he hit the floor. Changed ghost to some other word in the other story. I hope it doesn't sound too awkward. Gave up the dola or whatever I used the name for. Sounds like a foreign word for ghost. That was my intention, of course, but you know. There are actually a lot of people who use made-up words and stories. I didn't think it's actually a lot more common than I thought. Zoka was already lunging at his next foe, staggering about with his hands out in front of him like a blind man. 2 slashes from Zoka took the man's hands right off at the wrist. He got off a scream of pain before Zoka thrust the blade deeply through the man's chest. It seemed like the man had incised the consistency of melted ice cream, considering how easily the blade went in and went through and out him. The machete wasn't designed as a weapon, but it was still doing fine. As fine as a sword. As a real sword. Fine as a sword. Machete wasn't designed as a weapon, but it was doing its job. That job well at the moment. Was the machete designed as a weapon? It might have been in actual history. Describe machete. Okay, folks, see you later. That's 21 minutes. Have a nice day.